Hello and welcome everybody. We have a yet another episode of How to Fix Horse Racing. I'm Tom and I'm here along my co-host, Mr. G. Randall Johnson, and a friend of the show. You guys have seen him on Off the Rail, you've seen him on the Triple Clown Show, you even saw him on DGen Squares. The one, the only, Mr. We call him GQ, Gary Quill. Gary, how are you today?
Guys, good. Snowy mid-Atlantic, as you know, Tom. But hey, one inch of snow and we all shut everything down. So
That's
yeah,
what
having
said.
good New Year, good holiday, ready for 2022. So let's hit it.
Yeah. Well, last week we touched a little bit on exchange wagering with your buddy TK Kruger, and I know I got a lot about that episode, Randy. How about yourself?
No, absolutely. It was very informative. And I know Gary and TK were going back and forth about this. And one of the reasons why, Gary's on right, the next week. So we're going to follow up with it. I think TK covered it exactly. We'll go into it a little bit about exchange wagering. It was a great thing. But we're going to talk about a little bit different things to fix horse racing when it comes to the wagering side. And, we're all proponents of we need more fans rather than just the gamblers. I know, sorry, everybody. Apparently this didn't go over well with people, but we need the fans because they are gamblers. They become gamblers and everything else. I mean, you fill up a football stadium once again, and you're watching ESPN in the mornings. Not everybody there is gambling on the games, but they watch it. So we need to do that as well, but let's fix wagering. So Gary, thank you for coming on. And how are we going to fix horse racing? Let's go right into it. Gambling wise, how are we going to do that?
Well, Randy, as you said, how do we get people, to watch it? And people watch football and they also gamble on it. And I think a key phrase or saying is true with horse racing, where it's give a man a fish, he eats for a day, teach a man to fish, and he eats for a lifetime. And I think that what's lacking in the industry is the educating the newcomers, and every track tries its best to, give, every ADW has incentives, give you a free bet. And that's what pretty much even sports books do. Hey, sign up, if any team in the NFL Sunday scores a touchdown, you get 10-1 on your,
Right.
just, yeah. And it's kind of like, so it's, I think we're not educating first. We're kind of just throwing ideas, hey, here's my pick 4, pick 5, and people don't even know which show or place or when betting is. And I think you see a lot on Twitter, TVG is, gets a lot of flack about their tickets that they post and they're not educating and whatever. So, they should look in the mirror and say, what can we do to help educate the because the $2 bettors become $50 bettors if they have success. And by telling somebody to, bet a pick 4, pick 5, pick 6 when they're a beginner, they just don't have the bankroll to sustain. If somebody told you, hey, Randy, go bet $100 on this 16 parlay, and you lose, how many more of those are you going to bet before you say this sucks, forget this? So the long answer is education. And we all try our best. This podcast or this video cast is one of many that tries that. So I'm sure we're going to get into some more of the details of what can be done, but that's where I think the industry as a whole is. They bring people out, they kind of give them. A friend of mine who I got into horse racing, the first thing I did was I showed him the daily racing form that I had. I gave it to him. I said, here you go. It even has how, what all the chart means, everything in the chart means. And he became a fan because he learned about it. And then later on, he had said, you giving me that racing form was like a drug pusher giving me the first crack, my first vial of crack cocaine.
Yeah.
And the famous Mickey Rooney also said how he got into horse racing. He goes, I put $2 on a horse to win at Hollywood Park, and I spent $1 million for over the past lifetime trying to win it back.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Gary. No, and you're absolutely right. And it is weird, even some of the backlash we feel, sometimes where we give picks and we talk horses and we get that where it's crazy. It's like, oh my God, like you have to realize like it makes the game even more of a game and more. I mean, why do people love all sports in a sense? You grew up with it. You don't play horse racing when you're 12. Sorry, you don't. You're not a jockey. You play Little League though. So I get why you're into baseball.
Right.
It's about this. So the stories is all you have. It's my father calling me up and maybe, not a lot of people maybe don't have the dad that did it, but it's your friend being like, oh, do you see that replay of, Secretariat in 73? I mean, it's about the history, and the more you know about it, and it's just, we lose it. And if you just can name the numbers and not the name of the horse, I don't want to talk to you.
No.
Like, I'm sorry.
No.
I don't. I mean, I want to be a dick or a, like an elitist, but I don't. I mean, because that's fine. We need you. But, and listen, we have a lot of people on the show, some great people on the show that we're very good friends with that do have a thirst for knowledge about the game and everything like that, that just do analytics and just do numbers.
Mhm.
And that's what they do.
Right.
But they also appreciate and they learn more from the game and the history of the game.
Right.
So making it more entertaining, I think, has been a big thing, of course. So making it more entertaining, making it a story, making it a fun thing, to have breakfast while they're working out, you know what I mean? To have entertaining, like watching, like
Sure.
you do before football starts. Things like that, I think would help immensely, rather than here's my selections. That's great.
Yeah.
There's a place for that, but we don't have anything else, which is great. So let's go into betting though, because exchange wagering, you agreed with, Gary. It's a great thing that will get people more involved. So I'm going to start out with we look at the NFL, and the NFL is huge, and it got bigger. It did, and we all know this by watching it when fantasy football came around.
Oh yeah.
I'm weirdly not a fan of fantasy football. I'm one of those people that I don't like voting
I'm
for
not.
some other team. I don't like a guy to catch 2 passes, but yet I'll do prop bets when we'll get into it a little bit. That's a gambler in me, and I respect that. But so let's go into it right away. Fantasy aspect. We have these companies like Stable Duels, like I believe Derby Wars. I don't know if there's any other ones. What do you think they could do more? Or is this a good idea?
Well, I think they are doing it. Derby Wars, FanDuel. I think what they also have a lot of the other offshore ones. They have prop bets where it's head to head, and they started off like in Breeders' Cup and the Derby. They would take 2 horses that had similar chances of winning, if they were both 15-1 morning line or whatever, and you could bet who would beat the other. So then that way, I mean, your horse could come in 8th, but if the other horse came in 9th, you won. So that's
great.
That says something, and I really gravitated to that because, believe me, it's tough to pick a winner and one that you can get some decent value. So I gravitated to that, and it's just like betting a side on any game. You're betting two horses in a race. Neither has to win. It's just whoever finishes in front of the other one.
Whoever has more receiving yards in a game, doesn't matter who wins the game. Yeah,
right.
Exactly. Yep. And I think something like that, if that was introduced, because as you said, Randy, first, it came fantasy. And then every year for the past 5 years, more and more states are legalizing sports betting. And so a lot of the FanDuels, the DraftKings, MGM, whoever, in their menu of things to be wagered on, they could throw in head-to-head horse racing, and then that would bring people into, hey, this horse racing, if I, and again, anybody who is already a horse player can introduce the fan who wants to, gamble on soccer, basketball, baseball, or whatever in the same app. Hey, bring up Santa Anita's second race. What two horses are there that we could bet on? They don't have to win, but you can get even money or less.
That's actually
So
a funny
think about
thing.
it, and you could do it if you have 10 races on the card. You could do it. You could do that one bet 10
Well,
times at just one track.
has
Yeah,
anybody
it's
out
amazing.
there, I know people that are listening have put on a prop bet of different sports. I wonder if there's ever been a prop bet that anybody's ever had with a horse race included. You know what I mean? Like the Red Sox are going to win by 2, and Flight Line's going to win by 10 lengths in the whatever. I
Right.
mean,
Right.
but they do combine other sports. Like, let's jump aboard. Let's.
Well, they do that with the Derby. You have futures in the Derby. You
Sure.
have futures in the, like right now, and or any sport. Who's going to win the Super Bowl? You can get odds on any team who's going to be in the playoffs. And who's going to win the NCAA championship in basketball? You can get it on any team. So, I mean, in a way, futures is that prop bet. So they
Okay.
try to do it that way.
It'd be fun if they had the futures now for the Derby, and it was like a horse against another horse. Because if one horse
That
doesn't
would
even
be so
show
fun.
up, you won. Or you know what I
Right.
mean? All you need is your
Yeah.
horse to make
Yeah.
it, and you'll probably
so
win the
many
bet.
More opportunities to win.
I mean, if
money.
this was any other sport, it'd be how many horses does Bob Baffert have in the Kentucky Derby?
Yeah.
0
There you
being like whatever, and then as we go. Yeah, it is weird, but I mean, what do you guys think about other prop bets? And we'll go back to the stable deal thing because I do want to talk about, having jockeys in a barn and everything like that. There's got to be an
Right.
idea to do that. But what do you think about bets? If we went to prop betting to get people more involved, could it be like, first call, who's winning? I mean, jockeys are supposed to
Yeah.
give us an honest trip no matter what. Stewards will look at that. If they don't, that
Sure.
could come into play
Right.
when you have a horse behind that you want to run next week. You're already out of the race. You don't work the horse
Right.
that hard. So there
Yeah.
could be problems. But
Sure.
should we have a first, quarter, second quarter?
Of course.
Should we have props of that nature?
Yeah, of course. And I think we spoke about this in a previous episode. You could have over-unders on jockey wins for the day. The list goes on
Yes.
and on what you could do. And then you could even get into jockeys. How about trainers? Hey, Shug's got 4 horses going at the spa this week or on Saturday. The line is 2. You could bet jockeys, you could bet trainers. Hell, you could even do owners. Then you could do so. Okay, Berendini's got 4 foals going. How many of
I've seen a bet on that before. How many
Yeah.
of a horse? I've seen that prop bet.
The sire of the Kentucky Derby.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
sire. That's what it is. It's the sire of the Kentucky
Yeah,
Derby winner
it's-
because
there's so many different aspects of horse racing and so many different intangibles, and they run, we'll say, just for easy math purposes, 5 tracks on the same day. You could have 10 races each card. You could have so many prop bets just for
And-
that.
And let me just state right now, and Gary hit on this earlier, and what you just said, Tom. And for everybody out there, I really just want to hit on this. This is so important. And I'm going to tell you why, what we're talking about. Because if anybody out there remembers when fantasy football came around, I remember people that knew nothing about football, nothing. And what did they do? All of a sudden, the same guy that didn't know anything about football would tell me about this guy's career at Notre Dame and how he dropped balls
Right.
later on in the season in cold weather. And that person became a student and a giant fan of the sport because of fantasy football, what
Correct.
they learned. So with that being said, it goes to what we were talking about. If we introduce more things like this, say it is the trainer, these people will open up. These people that just bet on 1-3 exacta, you know what I mean, will all of a sudden open up and have to open up more to be like, oh, well, the sire of this horse isn't good in the Kentucky Derby. I didn't know that. Now I'm watching Kentucky Derby. Now I'm in a rabbit hole. We need to get them in that rabbit hole.
Sure.
And I think what we're saying could do that. And I'm only being very excited about that because it kind of just clicked with me, hearing what you guys were saying and going, wow, if we did that, we would get more people that wanted the entertainment, the knowledge,
That
things
It
about
gets back
horse
to the
racing,
entertainment
because
and
it'd be more
the
than
fan. It
it'd be
gets back
more
to the
than the
entertainment and
box.
the fan.
Yeah, it'd
Yep.
be more than the 647 exacta box.
Right. And the unfortunate thing is you need the media who has the masses attention to introduce something like that in order to, put the bait out there. Or, hey, guys like the Triple Clowns, Off the Rail, whoever is on social media, you get enough followings, you get enough interest. All you have to do is put it out there, and who knows, you might have DraftKings, FanDuel, whoever knocking on your door saying, hey, we're interested in what you're barking about. And next thing you know, you're partnering or you have a job.
Yeah,
in
well,
the
yeah,
race.
and then honestly, it's that obviously that's great. And if everybody out there, you can call my agent. Her name is Sarah Marie, and I know, but no, for real, and that's great. But it is true, and that's why we're trying to do it, because we figure if we all bark a little bit, somebody
Sure.
might hear it.
Yeah.
And that's what we're about. And that's why, and I'm not going to dwell on the negativity we get, because we're all, there's no negativity here with me. And I don't want to be Mr. Hippie, because I'm not. But we're all on the same page. We can hate each other. I don't care. But if we're about horse racing and trying to save it, we're on the same team. And
well, yeah, the unfortunate thing though is, I think by saving horse racing and all the ideas that we have doesn't necessarily mean bringing people physically out to the track. And, every Triple Crown series, I see it with Maryland Jockey Club with Preakness. If you look at their Twitter handle, and they're always saying, oh, Preakness tickets are now on sale. They use a picture of a bunch of girls partying.
It's like
What
the
does that
Pegasus
have to
from
do
last
with
it's so
year.
horse
funny you
racing?
bring this up, by the way, Gary. But yeah, this is, go ahead.
Yeah, they're saying, hey, it's more than a horse race. And I think we've all experienced the fact that if you're taking someone out to the track and it's Santa Anita Derby, let's go out to Santa Anita for Santa Anita Derby. And okay, we're gonna get there at around noon. And whoever you're taking out, they're like, okay, when does the race run? Well, it's in 5 hours, because there's 6 other races before that. Everybody thinks that, the Derby is held and that's the only race.
That's it.
Sarah thought that. I thought that was the craziest thing ever. Sarah said she thought the Kentucky Derby was the only race that day,
Yeah.
when she was younger. I was like, I obviously grew up knowing that wasn't true, but
Right. But I guess it makes, from an outsider looking in, that makes sense. It's not like
yeah.
it's not like there's a game before the Super Bowl on
Right.
the same day. I mean,
Yeah,
There's
there's not
actually
an
18
undercard.
games before the Super Bowl. You didn't know
like
that?
there's no maiden claimers in the Jets aren't playing the Browns.
Yeah, that's so weird.
So yeah, and I might be getting ahead of the conversation, but for every year the foal crop goes down, which means there's less horses that are going to get to the racetrack, but yet we still have more tracks open at the same time. So it just means the product gets watered down. And
It's true.
unfortunately, nobody's going to close up their business willingly. And
No.
that's what track owners are, and it just comes down to survival of the fittest. And I don't know what the answer is there, but for as long and probably before I graced this good earth, whoever owned the tracks, they had the gold. They called the shots, and so yeah, until there's some buy-in into the track owners that actually see that the product continues to go down, will they be willing to listen to outside sources on how they can make their product better?
Unfortunately,
we
unfortunately, probably
hear-
not.
No, well, we hear a lot of like, let's boycott. We've heard a couple of those. And I feel like they'll just shut the doors. Like,
Right,
you know what I
right.
mean? It's one
Yeah.
of those, let's go on strike and you're replaceable.
That's right.
You know, we don't have a union. Like
No,
we'll just hire somebody
no.
new.
And
But
Gary, I caught some crap for saying what you said, and I will say it again. There are too many tracks that have mediocre products out there.
Sure.
I said it before. I'll say it again, and it's no joke. Like why in the world are there two level B/C tracks in West Virginia? Do we need that?
Right.
I don't want to see anybody out of work
you know,
by any means, but to your point of the quality racing, it has gone down. And I'm not picking on West Virginia. It's just the first one that I thought of.
Mhm.
somebody on our show, and I don't want to say the wrong person. I think it was CJ. I'm not sure. I think it was CJ Johnson. I think it was him. And I think we're talking about, and I apologize to the person if it was not CJ, because it was a great point. They talked about, instead of having a huge race, say the Pegasus, how it used to be. So when it used to be like $7 million or whatever it was, like, why not spread that out in more races at Gulfstream? Same amount of people come for a $2 million race.
Correct.
Now you got 5 to play with.
Mhm.
And spread it out more. And I thought that was really strange that you backload them so much. I know the smaller tracks have to.
Right.
Yeah.
You have a 200,000 race, 300,000 race, fine. But the bigger tracks, you wonder why it's not like, well, Gulfstream's a great example. You know, I mean, you used to have the richest race in America. It was more than a classic. It was
Mhm.
correct.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 12 million, I think.
And then you're racing, you know, $3,000 claiming races. What the hell? You know, so you know, spreading it out, getting there. I mean, do we think, let's get back to it. Is it something that gets people to the track?
Well, I know what used to happen is every Saturday, the track would say have 9 races. And the feature race was always like big purse race, the 8th race. And then somewhere along the way, obviously tracks had paid a ton of money to somebody to make a study. And they decided, instead of spreading out their stakes races to one every Saturday, they just loaded it all onto one card. They thought that they'd be better off having this dynamite card of 7 stakes races on one day versus spreading them out. I think that works because, after all, with all the tracks that are running, as a handicapper, you're going to look and say, oh, you know, Fairgrounds, they have 3 grade 2s and a grade
Yeah.
1. And so that kind of, you know,
And the
you
top
know,
jocks are going in there for that
Right.
weekend.
you know, I'm a bad example, but I have a friend who's a casual bettor, and he looks at the purse of the race on whether or not he wants to bet on the race. It's like,
Huh.
I'll
That's
bet on a
interesting.
$5,000 claimer as much
Yeah.
as I'll bet on a $1 million race. I
Sure.
don't care. They still go around, you know, counterclockwise. But, you know, obviously, you know, the horse racing industry did studies, and so they do it that way. But no, Randy, to your point, Yeah, I think tracks have attempted to figure out something, but you know, everybody's trying to one up the next track, you know,
Yeah,
and
it's
that's
it,
why the purses keep
Yeah.
going up.
it's a good point because you know, I mean, and they probably looked at it and said, you were gonna get the same people here on a Friday as we're gonna get no matter what.
Right.
And we put a stakes here or not, it's a Friday, whatever. I know Saturday though, I can make a big deal. You can wear a fancy hat, you can dress up, and you're gonna get more people. It makes sense. I'm sure they did their due diligence, I think.
Sure.
But to get them to the track, let's see how it is. So let's go around real quick before we beat it up to death. And let's say, and I'll start with you, Tom. We'll go to Gary, then I'll go last because I'll feed off of you guys. If you could do one thing right now to get people in to the track, and then right after that, we'll go quickly and we'll do what wagers we could make or how we could fix wagering. But let's do getting people to the track. Tom, what would you do right now? You own a track, you want more attendance, you want younger people, you want to do whatever. I don't say younger people, new people.
New people
What do you
can
do?
be, they can be the 45-year-old guy who's never been out there before. People like free. People love free. People love promotions. Go back to the old days of the 70s and the 80s. Major League Baseball, they were having hard time attracting people. Giveaways. I mean, I know that's not going to save the sport or anything like that, but people, you got to get them in. And you're asking me this on the spot, and you have to get them in. What's the one thing that people will go to, or hey, come on, a lot of casino. I'm sorry, a lot of racetracks now have casinos. Maybe do a 2 for 1. Hey, you come in, you could have all kinds of promotions. Place a horse bet, get $10 worth of free slot machines. Get them in there while they're there, getting the free cooler or whatever the hell else they're going to get. Have somebody in there and have people actually not just go up and bet, but you can have people not I don't want to say a symposium, but almost, oh hey, it's your first time here, let me show you what to do, and more of a minutia level. But you can't just have them, hey, get them in there and then leave. You have to have some reason for them to actually stay. And that has to do with that has to do with the freebies. It also has to do with entertainment. There's 15-20 minutes in between each race. Why not hire just go out in the infield, have a band or something like that in there, and almost have like happy hour in between races, have entertainment. Look at what minor league ballparks do in the fifth and between each inning. There's always things going on in between the race, or I'm sorry, in between the innings. You have things going on in between the races. I'm not saying this is going to work at Churchill Downs, but maybe it's some of your smaller tracks like Fairgrounds, or things like that. That just people, just entertainment.
Dollar hot dogs between the sixth and the seventh race,
Yeah,
and that's it.
exactly. Yeah.
Sure. Okay. All right. Entertainment. Sure. You want to go on with that, Gary? You got a different one?
What I'll do something similar since I originally said education is key. Here's something, you know, in between the races, you have people come in and they do like a 15-minute introduction to handicapping, show them the basics behind reading the racing form, understanding what it is. When they come in, you give them, they sign up, you got their email address or whatever, you give them a $5 voucher, and then a ticket to come back another day to get another $5 voucher to do more of the handicapping. So then that way, instead of giving them just free for that one day, they come back. You give them something, an incentive to come back. And again, like Tom said, between races, people who are there, they're like, why is it so long between races? And it's like, well, that's, the people who look at the form. So I would do in between races, kind of an educational type of seminar. Have somebody famous, have somebody retired famous as a kind of like your calling card, that people would want to come. But you know, it's a hard sell no matter what you're trying to do. You know?
Well, yeah, and I'll jump right up on top of what you guys said. So while we're at the track and we're having our dollar hot dogs between the 6th and 7th race that Tom said, you got some handicapping stuff going on. You're making it, entertaining and informative. I love it. But think about the little things. And honestly, I just came up with this while you guys were talking. You know how, what are you doing at a hockey game or a baseball game? Where do you go to a football game when the play's over? What do? You look up at the screen, right? How come we don't even have I almost said Medina Spirit. I don't want to talk like that because obviously we lost him. But just say it's authentic. Go into the classic. And right after the race before, then all of a sudden the big screen, it's cool. Can he do it again? Here he is. And some little video. We don't even have that of things.
No.
And it could be like a maiden claimer being like 4 wins today by so-and-so. Now can he, we don't even have that. We don't even have like let's all go to the lobby. We don't even have that shit. I mean, come on. I just dated myself like a motherfucker.
We both laugh, so we're both old too.
But that and also with that being said, why don't we have a place where, first of all, it's cool to tailgate. It's cool to let's go party then. Let's go. You don't have whatever people call it, cornhole or bags,
right.
whatever,
Yeah,
wherever you're
right.
from, whatever you call it, tournaments there, a dartboard outside, whatever it may be. Have a fun atmosphere, get some people in there, have an arcade. And I'll tell you why, because people bring their kids, they go to the arcade.
They
That
just
kid
slump them in
will
the
become
arcade.
a
Yep.
horse fan.
Yep.
I know somebody, Joe Moran, just played the Derby thing with like big trainers' sons. He talks about it. That's how he was at Del Mar. They used to have a couple video games. Let's think about that stuff. So I think between all what we're saying, we just created fucking Disney World of horse racing, guys. Why can't we do this? Starters Group, if you're listening, we can be hired.
As Tom knows, Delaware Park did it. They'd have a what's the inflatable bouncy
The moon bounce or what have you.
They have those
drop,
out in Anita
drop the
too, in
kids-
the middle of it.
drop the kids
got-
off there, and then the one good thing Delaware Park, Randy, you can bring in all kinds of stuff into the that picnic area. I've seen people with cornhole and whatnot.
Yeah,
So
and I think you need to promote it. Have like
yeah,
tournaments.
well,
have,
that's just it.
Yeah,
They don't.
that's
They
cool.
don't. They don't.
Well, listen,
promote
I
it,
mean,
and-
listen, Delaware Park, I know they can't bring sleeves in. That's all I know.
oh, come on now. Can't we go through one show without mocking my track? I don't disagree, but we're gonna cut this one out.
I'm just kidding. I love my people in Delaware.
But no, you're right. You're right, and it's you want to learn. To Gary's point, I was talking about this with somebody not that long ago at the track. People love to go other places to meet people, but some people don't want to go out to bars, etc., etc. Singles night, have somebody like Gary teaching people how to read a program.
I thought you were going to say like Gary teaching how to like pick up chicks or something. I thought you were going there. I'm like, wow. This is getting
well,
on.
that too. His name is GQ, but no.
Yeah,
but
we're going to have Gary there teaching him
Have
how
a
to pick up
bachelor
women.
auction.
That was,
yeah,
like, really odd.
but make it a destination. And hey, what do you want to do? Oh, I want to do this. Hey, they're having a singles night at the track. Well, you know what? I'll waste $50 and bet on a couple of horses or something like that. Why not?
Yeah. I mean, listen, and everybody that's ever brought a girl to the track, their first dating, it's always a big, swallow really hard before you do it.
Yep.
Hey,
True.
what are you thinking about doing today? I was thinking, you want to go to the horse track? Yeah, it's pretty much how it goes. But you know what? I've never been to a horse track with anybody, a guy, girl, whatever it might be, that doesn't love the track once you bring them there.
Yep. And
And if
then
they
you
don't,
love
I
the
don't want to be
animals.
friends with them.
That's how I got
so
my wife. She likes the horses, so I'm like, oh, you'll like this too. Okay, sure.
yeah.
I can see the horses. Yeah, of course you can.
kids. It is unbelievable. So let's go real quick right around before we end. Real quick right around parimutuel bets or whatever you could do. What would you do? What would your number one bet be that they don't do, Tom?
That they don't do. I think I have
Are you talking
professed
about
my
beginning?
love.
Are you talking about, introducing someone and saying,
No. I'm
Don't
talking
bet.
about parimutuel bet. Like a different one, like a to the first turn or
a new.
what number wins? You
introducing
know
a
they'll do
new
shit
one.
like that if that
Yeah.
comes
Oh,
out.
I'm a big over under guy. I would love an over and under for jocks and trainers. I think that would be per day. I think that would be fun because it would never evolve, ever change. I mean, remember when Rosario was hot and then he couldn't hit water? It's just so it's always changing.
Yeah, I since you had TK on and his horse racing group with Wasabi, he had started something that was kind of like an online kind of like sports book for members where they could win credits in order to get horses. And whoever he had started it off, maybe it was TK himself, after a while, they're like, TK, you get really imaginative about that. And I threw out some ideas to him. And he's there like, well, if you want, you can just take it over. So I did. And what I did was like Tom did. It was like, on the aqueduct card, the shortest margin of victory, over or under a neck, kind of like that. And in that way, you have action for the entire card.
Wow.
Every race. Yeah.
Wow.
That,
Every race. Because you're right. Because you'd be out if you like bet a jockey and the jockey's going to go under and you already know, or you already won. Yeah.
So yeah, just and I would do like over and unders like that, or like I'd look at the card and see that IRAD was on, about had seven mounts and probably 3 of them were legitimate. So I'd say IRAD over and under three wins or 2.5. I'd always have it,
Of course.
that would be.
Wow, you're a book.
I am a
essentially.
book. Believe me, I'm a book at heart. So anybody
Love
out
it.
there who has interest, I got it all. Plus, on top of it, when Randy was saying fantasy, no lie, years ago I pitched an idea for fantasy horse racing. Now, at the time, Breeders' Cup or whoever, they did a fantasy horse racing, but they did it wrong. They did it with horses. I mean, like, the horses only run maybe once a month or whatever.
If that, yeah.
Okay. Let's make the jockeys and the trainers the stars of this industry. And I looked at possibilities where, okay, the jocks who rode at the big tracks, they were like in an A group that you could draft from. And then the mid tracks, you had other jocks, and each jock you would like take 2 jocks from the A group and whatever. And then that was your team. And
Interesting.
And you got so many points if they won, so many points if they were second or third. And it was just a lot. I didn't have the infrastructure in order to pull it off, but it was an idea that I came up with because I'm always looking for some ways to make this
That sounds
industry
really interesting.
stay
Well,
alive.
yeah. And every day you have action. So talk about
Yeah.
keeping people involved.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I would say is like, they'd have to be super hardcore. It's like doing fantasy baseball. You know what I mean? Like,
It's like a full-time job.
yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Well,
yes.
yeah, they could be levels. Yeah.
You would have to have a database that you gotta have, and the whole thing about everything, even what you talked about, Randy, is putting on the big screen in between races. Unfortunately, it takes somebody in order to put that together, and
Right.
racetracks just don't want to. They're
Spend.
limited on their bottom line. I mean, the I'm going to go off topic for a second. The thing that drives me crazy, because I follow the Mid-Atlantic, specifically Maryland circuit, it drives me nuts that in order to have their experts' opinions on their website, at least a day ahead of the live racing date, they, their experts handicap the card, they give their top 3 picks, and then they'll have like their best bet, and they'll have a price play. And then they're posted on the website, and then you'll look and it's like their price play is 5-2 morning line. And the reason is because they're forced to post their picks before and handicap before the morning line comes out.
Yeah.
So, and the thing is it's so simple to, once the morning line comes out, check to see that your price play isn't the favorite, and adjust it per se, but they don't, and it just drives me nuts. So,
and I know who you're
about
talking about, but I think they would know who the
And-
favorite's going to be. That's what upsets me.
Right, and that goes to show, God love them, the people that they hire for these positions. But after a while, without the morning line, you have an idea that the horse is going to be a price versus,
You should
right.
be able to make the morning line. I mean, close enough. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, and we do a couple of the shows, especially on like the Thursday show that we do. We'll handicap before the morning line comes out, or like literally as the morning line had just got released, but we don't do like a price play because we don't know. But I mean, even looking at it, we've all looked at races before.
I've always said,
Morning
and a
line
lot of
come
people
out,
are
it's like, oh, that's going to be the favorite.
yeah, a lot of people will, I know what they all do, and they just take everybody else's picks and go off of those. We all know people do that. That's fine.
Sure.
What I was always taught to do is, and I think Sarge and I talked about this, and I was taught before that, and I won't look at the morning line. I'll make my own. In my head, what I think the morning line should be. And if there's a big difference, and I'm not right all the time, but if I see a horse and I'm like, oh, this horse would be 3-1. And then I see the morning line's like 12-1. I go, oh,
I'm taking it.
I saw something.
Yeah.
Not saying I'm right, but I think that's a great angle of anybody that's kind of knows what they're doing. Do that one day and see if you win.
I'll always download the past performances before the morning line comes out, and I want to get my opinions without a morning line.
Yes.
And then look to see. And when I was doing the analysis for the Racing Biz, I would do that, and then I would once the morning line came out, whoever I had on top in the 9 races who had like a 10-1 morning line, then all of a sudden that's my price play.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
it fits.
Exactly. Because no matter who you are, if you see that morning line, it fucks with your head.
Sure.
It really does. Oh my God, it does.
You're like, what am I not seeing? This horse is 8-5. Like,
right.
I have him at 5-1. I suck,
and
because this guy's got to be smarter than me.
It really gets in your head. You're so true.
Yeah, it does. So I'll end it with yeah, I agree with what I think. That's great what Gary said, and also Tom said. So only thing I would say what both of you guys said, I'll just add on to it with maybe longer futures as well, and different futures, which would keep people, the jockey award, like the Eclipse Award winner, things like that for the jockey. Those props keeps you interested all year, I guess, maybe. But I love what you guys said, so I'm just trying to add on with more stuff to that, because who's authentic or 'tis the law, who's gonna have a baby who wins first? You're talking years, you're talking like a 3-year bet, but
right.
Well,
yeah. I think Authentic got a head start, I think.
Not by much.
No, I know, but hey, it's a great, I love where you're going with it.
I mean, just long-term stuff of, bet trainers.
So many. You can't really do that with hockey.
No.
So,
No,
so Randy, Randy and Tom, as you're saying, the bottom line is any of these sports book apps, wagering companies that have interest in offering their customers action on horse racing in different ways, just call us.
yeah, contact us.
I've already
I think
given
somebody
away
just did.
I've already
Clip of
given
it.
away.
Are we live? That was
There's
weird.
a there's a clip of the show.
Isn't there a good friend of the show who actually works for FanDuel?
Stable
that,
duel. Yes,
yeah.
stable duel. Yes.
Oh,
Yes, there
I'm
is.
sorry,
And that'd be
yeah.
Remont. Yeah, works for
Yeah.
stable duel. And
I
and
mean,
absolutely, this is a conversation we will have with her.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, she's a DGen. She's part of DGen. So we're all on the same team. So absolutely. And I know they're trying. I know her and Pete are out there hustling. And I'm sure they could use anything to get further. And it'd be a nice conversation to have with them.
sure.
Because I think I think I've told her that before, and Pete, I think they're on the cusp of something. But I think they're just as, I am speaking for, I think that in general is as frustrated as we are with, come on, how is fantasy football this big? And I understand we're
Right.
never going to be the NFL, never going to be soccer. We're never going to be cricket, but we can go back to being horse racing.
Sure.
I remember, this is before we're in the early stages of fantasy football, and I wasn't involved in it. And I was at work one day talking to a guy who I knew he was into fantasy. And I often wondered whenever I was like watching Sports Center and they on a Sunday night and they were giving, the Vikings beat whoever, 28-3. And they'd have in the corner of the graphic, the quarterback, what his stats were, and then like the running back. It was like, Randy Moss was still playing at time, and it would say like Randy Moss, 2 catches for 31 yards. And I'm thinking somebody else had to have had more than that. Why are they highlighting him? And the guy goes, that's because Randy Moss is everybody who's in fantasy has
fantasy
Randy
team.
Moss. They want to know what he did.
Oh yeah, he's not the leading receiver. He's the
No.
most popular receiver
Right.
in fantasy
Exactly.
football.
Right.
Oh no, it runs. I mean, there's a reason why DirecTV is DirecTV now. I mean, that's how big it is. That's fantasy football. The reason why every bar has every game is not because besides
People
when
are
I've been to New
interested in
York,
that.
No,
LA,
nobody cares about
out
the
here,
Colts versus the Chiefs.
yeah, everybody wants to watch different games when you live in certain cities. That's it though.
Yeah.
Anywhere else, there's 2 games on and they're fine. But not anymore. They changed the game.
Yeah, I'm about 3 years removed from retiring from fantasy. I did it for about 10 years, and it ruined how I watched games.
Mhm.
I didn't care
imagine.
about the game. I just cared about my player in that game.
I know. And then as much as like it, yeah, it's funny because maybe that'll happen with horse racing, but it'll be fun to watch happen because at least we'll get popular in the
Hey,
meantime.
right. That's true. People will be going around wearing
Yeah.
wearing Jose Ortiz hats and Johnny B t-shirts.
They would love everybody. This would be marketing for everybody. Are you kidding me? Yeah. You got the Jose Ortiz jersey. Like, come on. I mean, this would be great. But anyway, let's wrap this up.
I'm not interested in betting this race, but all I know is that I got Jose Ortiz under 3 wins, so I don't want him to win this race.
Yeah,
I gotta watch
exactly.
Yep.
Like, you know how much the maiden race that he might not have a shot on, that he already won 1, and he's got 2 great ones later that you want him to get this one to be like, oh, we got this now. This is
Easy.
locked up.
And that's the thing. I mean, every track, they for their pari-mutuel wagering, they deal with Amto or some totalizator company. And maybe the problem is those totalizator companies just don't have the technology for.
I'm sure they
prop
don't.
bet.
They've been using the same technology since 1951.
Exactly. Right.
And they should
So
just.
they'd have to contract somebody else for the prop bets. But I mean, that's the track's losses.
Yes,
I think it's
you
a
could do it
It's not
all.
even a loss because
do
any
it all over the
percentage of
phone.
that, they'll kill it. Like that's like a win. There's no losing that. When you take a certain amount, people, if you put it up there, people will bet on it.
Yeah.
That's how we are.
Oh, believe me. I mean, if there's a race, in the afternoon, I may not have a strong opinion on who might win, but give me two horses in the race, I might have a strong opinion on who will finish in front of the other one.
Yeah,
That's good.
it could
Yeah.
be funny. Nice shirt, nice thing, Dairy Queen, by the way. I just saw your sweatshirt.
Oh,
That's
thanks.
good.
Cold.
It's real nice. I don't even know. Is that the restaurant or your nickname?
I don't know anymore.
Did you grow up on a farm? Anyway, all right, so
Anyway,
let's-
we're wrapping this up.
Yeah, so wrap it up, Tom. Wrap it up. Give our
Yeah,
outro.
no, and we could have gone on and on and on. We had a hell of a time talking to GQ. He is a good friend of the show, and we've had a lot of fun talking to him about wagering, and about how to get the fan out there, and also how to bet, but how to get the fan out there, and that's what we need. And how are we gonna fix horse racing? It's 1 week at a time, and we did it. Me and Randy and Gary. We're trying to do it today. We'll be back next week with another episode. We're going to be tackling international racing and see what we can do to some of the folks from over there, what they know that we don't, and maybe we can incorporate some stuff from overseas right here in the good old U.S. But Gary, I really appreciate you, and Randy, and really appreciate you hopping on. I know you're a busy man.
Hey, it's great. Thanks for having me on. I always love talking horse racing and what we can do to try to keep it going, because we love it.
And you're
Exactly,
doing Better
Gary.
Betting podcast, right, Gary?
Yeah, I do a weekly podcast called Better Betting. My podcast partner, Eric, known as Bandits BB. He always posts our podcast. We're not as sophisticated; it's just an audio podcast. But we try we try to do a pick five, but at the same time, just educate people on different parts of handicapping with the same form, and just try to get a few new fans in the sport. So yeah, Better Betting.
Absolutely. And Gary, anytime you want one of us on there, let us know, because you've come on our show enough.
Great. Would love that.
Yeah, what are you waiting for asking for Gary? I mean, I know you asked for the smarter one first. So
well, I know, yeah, well, obviously that means I'll come on if you want. I mean,
but Gary, all kidding aside, your podcast is great it's called the Better Betting Podcast, and I enjoy listening to it in the car on Spotify, because it actually is good for folks who are just getting into it, because it's not just about the betting. You and Eric do a good job of explaining things, and sometimes, especially if you're tackling a track that I'm not too familiar with, it's very quality work. So good work.
Yeah,
and
it
take
might
ourselves
seem
seriously.
yeah, and it might seem like, listen, we were three guys rambling about horse racing and how to fix it, and that's what we're doing. We're just three people that love horse racing, and we do different things in the sport, and we're open to, we want this to be an open forum for everybody, and we appreciate people like GQ and everybody, obviously, because he wants this to be bigger than it is, as we do.
Yes, we do.
This is fun. This is fun. Like, this should be, people should also have fun doing this.
Yeah. And who knows? Like I said, we've been saying this now for a month. We bark loud enough, somebody might listen to us.
Eventually, yep. You
Maybe.
become overnight successes 10 years later.
Hey.
Exactly. Well, on that note, it's us, the Triple Clowns. We got a lot of stuff coming up. We have our weekly show that we usually do. We haven't been able to do it that much in the last couple of weeks, but we got some things coming along. Our Triple Clowns Time Machine will be coming up very soon. We just did an in memoriam, if anybody saw that. It's on a sad note, so I don't like to talk about that a lot. Horses we lost. Check that out. Paying homage to a lot of great horses we lost this year. It's a fact of racing that we're not going to avoid.
Yeah.
And that's part of, I think, a lot of things is we're not going to avoid that. And we're going to celebrate them and their careers. So, but we have a lot of stuff coming up. But from me, G. Randall Johnson, I know Tom from Tom and Tom Racing, GQ, Gary Quill out there at Horse Racing Nut. I see that at Horse Racing Nut if you want to follow him on Twitter. But we'll see you later, and let's fix this damn broken horse racing.
Fix it. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks again, guys.